It's weird. It's not going.
You're live, Eric.
I am live. Okay. Well, it said it wasn't live. Well, hey, here we go. Today, you're going to find something that you didn't even know you lost. Our guest today, Christine Swann, what are you going to do today?
I'm going to show you how to find the light in your paintings.
You're going to help us find the light.
Find the light in your paintings, and it won't change everything. You wait, you'll see.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm excited. Let's get started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rose. Now, here's your host, Eric Rose.
Well, hey, welcome to Art School Live. I'm Eric, and I'm here every day at noon Eastern Time and have been since the beginning of COVID. And so we've been trying to give you free art lessons. We also have lots of other art lessons that you can pay for, some really, really in-depth courses at painttube.tv, but not right now. We'll tell you about that later. Our guest today is Christine Swann. She is a rock star, and she's going to show you today how to find the light. She has 5 stages that she does in her paintings. And today she's going to show you stage number 2 in finding the light. You'll learn about this reference image more. That's her daughter. But first, welcome to Art School Live. We have a gift for you today, a free gift, and that is this 97 Art Secrets video. You can get it streaming instantly. And it has 5 hours of 50 top artists and showing off some of the hundreds of art instruction videos that we've produced, or courses, I should say. And all you have to do to get that is just go to 97artsecrets.com. That's yours for free. If you want a DVD, you can get that too. A lot of people still want those, but we ask that you pay the shipping on that, which is, I don't know, $5 or $6, not much. Certainly worth it for 5 hours of training. And a lot of people have taken these and figured out how to get to the next level on many areas. Just I'm having trouble with my program today for some reason, and that is this magazine, Fine Art Connoisseur, which I've been operating now for 20 years. And it is a phenomenal magazine for art collectors and artists who love to see art. And you can win a copy by putting a comment in the comments section today. So please do that. The winner of our last prize is Tammy Stahl of Huntington Beach, California. Tammy won the value specs that help you see your values, put them on your head. It's amazing. It's amazing. You can subscribe to this program by simply going to YouTube and finding us by searching Art School Live, and just hit the subscribe button. And of course, follow on YouTube, etc. I mean, on Facebook and Instagram, etc. If I sound a little flustered, it's because for whatever reason, I've got a delay in my graphics today. So anyway, I'll just stop while I'm ahead, get right to our guest, Christine Swann. Christine, are you ready to show us how to find the light?
I'm ready and happy to be here. Thanks for having me here. I really appreciate it.
Oh man, we're excited.
Yeah, so I prepared a drawing here for you. As you can see, this is my oldest daughter. And so like you mentioned, my paintings go through 5 stages. And the first stage is this pretty detailed drawing stage. And so obviously today I'm working in pastel pencils. So basically this drawing was just set up with a bunch of pastel pencils that were started off a little bit darker than this paper right here. This is a gridded surface. If you work in pastel, you might be familiar with that a lot of pastel artists work on this really, it almost feels like a very fine sandpaper. And so I just built up the drawing with darker and darker pencils until I reached, like a black pencil until I have
What is the specific paper that you're using?
Yeah, so this is Sennelier La Carte. Sometimes they call it a card or Sennelier La Carte paper, and it has a very soft grit to it. And this particular color is called Sienna Brown, and it's one of my favorite surfaces. It's really, really nice. And so Once I have a pretty detailed drawing set up like this, and people might say, well, how can you get such a detailed drawing set up like this? Before I go into layer number 2, which is the finding the light stage, I'll set up this drawing, make sure it's pretty meticulous. And I wanted to show you that pastel is very, very forgiving. And I have this pencil over here marked off to the side. This is a pencil that pretty much closely matches the background color. And so I can go into my drawing and, like, say right here is really dark. I can literally make it act like an eraser. And so I can correct my drawing as I go along with the pencils. They're very, very forgiving, especially on a surface like this.
That's something you can't do with any other medium.
Right. It's very, I mean, with oils you can paint over, but after a while you'll have that mushiness underneath. Pastel, since it's so dry, I literally can just draw right over top of what I already have there and correct it as I go along very easily until I have something that's pretty precise. I used to be a watercolor painter, so I guess in my mind always it's been to have a very precise drawing underneath before I actually start painting on top of something. And so once I have something like this, I'm good to go with the next stage, which is layer number 2, which I do with all my work, and it's called finding the light stage.
Why don't we quickly show the reference image so we
Sure.
can see the reference image. We'll pull that up. And that's, you said that's your daughter.
Yes, my oldest daughter.
All right. All right. Good. So I hope
Yeah.
she's watching in Antigua.
Yeah, she's in Antigua. She lives down there permanently. So I hope she's tuned in right now. That would be awesome. So as you can see, this reference, I love this reference for a couple different reasons. One is it's in natural lighting by a window. And so you have this beautiful light that's casting across her face. And that's really important to constructing a good portrait, is to really understand what that light is doing across her face. And so how I figure out what that light is doing now is I take what I call my fistful of yellow here. So you can see this is a bunch of yellow pastel pencils in all different brands. It doesn't really matter. And I just take a yellow pastel pencil and I will go through the entire portrait now, and I will literally pull out the light. And I'm not thinking about color or anything at this stage. I'm not even thinking about a likeness as much as I'm thinking about what is the light doing? What is it doing across her hair, across her face? If there was a lot of other things in the background, or she was holding a dog, everything would get what I call the yellow treatment.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You had a handful of yellow pencils. Were they all the same shade and you just had more so you didn't have to resharpen them, or what? Why do you have so many?
Exactly. So I have a lot of them here just because as soon as I burn up one, I'll just toss it to the side and grab another one. I wanted to show too that I literally don't worry about sharpening my pastel pencils. If you look at them, a lot of them are what I call block cut. So I literally take a box cutter like this and just kind of, shave them down a little bit, and they don't really have points on the end of them, because I found that I don't really need that, and it's kind of a waste of time, because even at a block point I can still get a very fine line. So there's really no need to really worry about a sharp point on these. And so I give everybody out there permission to not worry about sharpening your pencils too much. You can still get a very fine line even with a block point like this.
Okay. Now I have another question. We are not seeing yellow on the light on this reference image. The light feels very cool to me. Why are you using yellow?
Right. So I started doing this many years ago to try and find ways to express what the light will be like in the upper layers. So this yellow stage really does a couple different things. It'll help me find the concentrated areas of light and the highlights and everything. But more importantly too, this yellow stage will help kick the upper colors or later on. So even though she's in a very cool light, and later on I'll be looking at more of the blues and purples and things across her face, to me, beams are doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's going to start being very, very acidic yellow. And I'm going to start up here at the top of the head, and I'm going to move down the portrait. And so even if I just take some gentle little marks, say in the hair across here, and I just start really slowing down and really looking at how that light is pulling across the head. And then right here where it's a little stronger, on the apex of where the hair is turning, all I do is I take the pencil and I push down just a little bit harder. So the more yellow that I get, the more it's telling me what is the light is more concentrated there, and then it pulls off because this is breaking off and going more into the shadow. So within just a very short amount of time, I can get this sense of turn to this light on the top of her head. And again, I'm not worried about color or anything at this point. I'm only worried about what the light is telling me of the turn of all these different complex things that are happening across her face. And so you can go in and kind of just have a lot of fun with this. I'm like, really, it started doing this years ago when I was painting in oil a lot, and I was doing, the value studies, the real detailed value grisé studies. And I found that by the time that I actually went to start painting in oil over top of the gray studies, I was really bored with the painting. So I said to myself, well, how can I go after what I really, really love? How can I really go and start thinking about that light that I loved so much early on? And this is what I came up with. And so, yes, she's going to start looking very acidic yellow for a while. And people in my classes, it's a little weird at first, but once you get used to it, you're going to see that this actually is very helpful to really understand what's happening here without thinking about color or anything else just yet. And I'll use line work, and I'll use little circles. And the key is to really, like, if I look across that photo reference of her forehead, there's a lot of subtle value changes that are happening, lights and darks that are happening across here, where, you know, this area right in here is a little brighter because the light's a little stronger the way it's hitting here. And I could do little tiny circles in here. And I'm very mindful of how this will come over into where it starts getting darker. Like, what does this soft edge look like right in through here? And I'm using the yellow to really set up that as my blueprint, really. And then later on, when I get to all the fun colors, that's really going to help me understand what's happening here. So we can use lines, we can do cross hatching, little circles, and a lot of it is pressure related. So, you know, right in through here, I'm using this very soft, just kind of a dragging, very subtle. You can kind of hear the drag of it on the paper there on the grid.
Now, isn't what I understand, or
I'm still here. I don't know. I can't hear you, Eric. Are you there?
I am here. You
Okay.
can't hear me.
Yeah, you blipped out there for a second, but you're back.
Okay. So are you going thin or thick? Because at some point the tooth won't hold enough pigment.
Right. Well, that's the beauty of the gridded surfaces, like something like this. They say that the Sennelier Lacarte surface will hold 25 layers. So I can hit
Really?
the same over
Wow.
and over again. Yeah, it winds up being very, very forgiving. And yes, it's almost like this very soft tickle, very soft drag that I'm getting across this gridded surface. And then the more pressure that I add, like right in through here, where I'm getting more of this brighter area across the top of the forehead, I'm just pushing down a little harder. And this right here is now starting to tell me the language of what's happening across that forehead.
You really could see the form by adding that brilliance of light there.
Oh, it's a wonderful way to work. And especially when I'm coming down in through here, and you can see how it gets dark just barely. The light is just glazing past. And then right in through here, you can see obviously the bridge of the nose is coming out from the face. It's catching more of that light. And now if I push a little harder, look how quickly I can really pick up how that starts coming out. And it starts, you know, coming out of the picture plane, starts giving me that sense of depth.
Okay, sit tight for a second. Let's show that reference image one more time, just so everybody can see it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, now we'll go back. You know, this is really a great exercise, really in values, but, you know, pulling out the light. I mean, this could actually be a very interesting painting on its own, using the brightness of the color. You know, Dan Gerhardt's does this kind of thing a lot.
Yeah, a lot of oil painters do what's called the primer layer, where they're working on whites and they're setting up kind of the values in white underneath. And it's funny, I've actually tried doing that in oil painting. I've done the white, and I've missed the yellow so much because I've been doing it for so many years. So when I paint in oil, I actually set everything up in this bright acidic cadmium yellow as well, and then put my colors over top of the yellow. I'm just so
I
used to
love these idea of pastel pencils
Yes.
because you have even more control.
A lot of control with the pencils, really. And it's fun. I mean, you can get these beautiful I mean, all this lovely hair that's kind of coming off to the side. If I hold the pencil down here on the end and just kind of tap it in there, look how these pretty beautiful strokes I can get in there. Yeah, and it's just more artistic, and it feels more fresh and more humanistic, I guess, than if I choke up.
What brand of pencils are those?
This one I happen to be holding is a Carbothello, which I
Okay,
really
so there's different brands that you use, and are they soft or hard?
So to the touch, it's actually, they feel pretty hard. And of a kind of an interesting note, I actually don't think in terms of soft and hard when it comes to pastel. I know that's a little bit unusual, but I only think in terms of the strength of the stick. So in other words, pastel pencils are they're very diluted with the binder to ratio level is very diluted. So
Okay.
why I can get this beautiful little subtle glazing happening, even though it's acidic, bright yellow.
Really
Um,
nice.
yeah, it's just such a nice way to control it because it's even though it feels hard to the touch, more importantly to me is that I could just put these little tiny glazes down of the color and really kind of control it.
We have a question from Gabrielle Dockerman, which is, how is your process different in oils, or how would the process be different in oils, if at all?
Yeah, so in oil, obviously, what the yellow that I'd be putting down is, wet, but I'm still looking at the edges. This yellow stage is so important with when it comes to the break, what they call the break between what is lit and where it starts going into the shadow area. And so I would be really still very aware in painting in oil, very acidic yellow, and then how it glazes or disappears into the shadow area in oil as well. And then once this yellow stage sets up in the oils, obviously we have to wait for that to dry a little bit. Then I can start doing just like what I'm doing in pastels, where I'll build up the colors on top of that. So
I would also add that it's a lot harder with oils to put lights over darks,
yeah,
and because they sink in. And so if you were to look at, for instance, the Eric Johnson Rembrandt video that we did, he will lay down a layer of white lead, and then he'll never put anything over it until he's ready to glaze it. And then, he'll glaze over it lightly, not heavily. So I
right.
don't know if that would make a difference or not.
Yeah, and this is exactly what they're doing there. This is glazing. To me, this is I'm a very indirect painter when it comes to pastels. A lot of layering, a lot of glazing, where I'm treating it almost like stained glass. We're putting down a layer, we're putting down another layer,
Yeah.
and so the same kind of thing is happening here, but with a dry pencil. And it's just very forgiving, and it's very fun to just sit here and kind of tickle across the surfaces and really just see what's happening.
Well, you
Like
learn
even
something new every day. I've been on this show now for, I don't know how many years, 3 years.
Mhm.
And every day there's something new. I never knew until this moment that you could glaze with pastel pencils.
Oh, absolutely. You can glaze with pastel in general. It's one of the things that I love about pastel. A lot of people think of pastel as being a very opaque medium and kind of restricted in that way. But if anything, I find it a very transparent medium, especially when you're using a lot of pencil work that you can just, it's almost like colored pencils too, where you're just cross hatching, and you're building up these sophisticated layers. And it's very forgiving. It's more forgiving than you would think.
Another question, do you also use soft pastels ever?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So in Pastel Live, I'll be going through all 5 stages of the way my portraits run, and we'll definitely be getting into the sticks and the upper layers
Oh,
and
so
how
you're going to do start to finish,
start to finish.
the
Yep.
whole enchilada. So we're only seeing a
Yep.
piece of it. That's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. So today was just layer number 2. We're just kind of teasing everybody about how to really get this sense of depth and light on your portraits. But in Pastel Live, I'm going to show you how to take color and set it over top of this. And yeah, using lots of sticks then. So
For those who don't know what she's talking about, Pastel Live is coming up in August. It's an online conference, uh, 3 days, plus an essentials day of pastel. Um, and so the essentials day is for people who need a reminder or have never done it before. I'm really excited about it. And
yeah.
so is everybody else, because we've had a huge number of people. It's definitely going to be the largest pastel event in history.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so excited to be part of that. And you can see right here, I mean, the hair right here, if you look at the reference, this is some sophisticated stuff that's happening here. A lot of little curls and different things that are catching the light. But by using the yellow, I can just quickly come in and kind of just set what's happening, what I'm seeing, what the light is doing. And all of a sudden it feels like hair, and it feels very believable in there very quickly.
So
And so,
Dennis Marshall says, I like pastel pencils, but sharpening has been somewhat problematic. What would
yeah.
you say to him?
Yeah, so this will become your best friend. I have one of these box cutters right here, and I love this thing. And I literally just blunt cut them like this, and you can see there's basically like a flat tip on the top, and I just cut them like this. And even though there's not a sharp point per se, I mean, you can see how fine of a line I'm getting, even without worrying about a tip on it. So
And
for
I
me,
like the idea of just having multiple ones sharpened. That way you can just grab one and not have to
yeah, it doesn't interrupt
resharpen.
the.
Don't carry it on an airplane though.
Yeah,
Put it in your luggage.
yeah. So I'm kind of going back through this a little bit now. You can see just some of these little turns in the hair where the light is stronger. again, I'm thinking about the light as being strong and the yellow setting over top of that, representing that light. And so the more I do that, the more I'm going to get that kick of that feeling of roundness and the light absolute, telling me what's happening with these, with the hair and all these little things and down her nose. And so it's, and I mean, just even this little area here on her lip, if you look at the photo reference, it's really strong where it catches that little rim right up against the lip. So that's getting a harder application from the pencil where I'm pushing down a little harder there. And then I'm, subtly pulling that out. And that will give me what that plane is doing, how that the light will tell me always what is happening with these sophisticated things that are happening in the face. And if you notice up and through here, I was doing the rim of the eye, also the white of the eye, and the highlights in the eye also get yellow. And so once you put that in, then all of a sudden she looks like she's looking out at you, which is lovely. So nothing is immune to the yellow. Everything gets the yellow. Across the lip, there's these beautiful little highlights that are happening here across the lip.
I got to tell you, that's just beautiful as it is.
Right, isn't it fun?
I can't wait to see on Pastel Live when you show the whole process. That's going to be fascinating.
Oh yeah, I've been doing this yellow stage for a long time, and it's just, I don't know, it's just a way to take something that's so intimidating, right? Portraiture seems so intimidating, and like, oh, I can't do that. It seems so hard. But if you just slow down and let the light tell you what's happening across the form, you would be amazed at how many people can really do really well with portraiture once they just slow down and just really just look at the light and don't be intimidated by it.
Now, I always put a little tiny bit of some yellow in my lights anyway, because I want them to read like sunlight. Is that essentially why you do this?
Yeah, because the yellow is going to kick into the upper layers. Like I said, I'll do a lot with other pencil work blues and greens and purple. Pretty much the next stage is where all the colors are on the table, and I'm adding a lot of different colors. And so this yellow will add this kick to the upper lit area of the face. And so that's why the yellow not being on the non-lit side of the face, I still have to go into this area here. It helps give you that warmth underneath of the upper colors. And so this side of this cheek right here, you can see there's a big difference between how lit this side is versus how lit this side is. And so I want that yellow to tell me what's happening. I say my brain cells just can't handle this kind of sophisticated stuff anymore. I need to like slow down, have it tell me what's happening. And I can, put my finger in here a little bit and kind of knock it back a little bit, because I want that relationship of how bright is this cheek versus how bright is this cheek. And once I understand that, that will help me so much in the upper layers.
This is a good thing for people to do just as a lesson in light, even if they don't do it all the time. It'd be a great exercise.
It is. It really is.
Because it reads so much differently than just using white.
Oh, absolutely. And for me, I've tried it in white. I've tried it in orange. I've tried, other different layers underneath. It's just nothing's quite as captivating as the yellow for me. It just really just feels like light, that really acidic cadmium yellow feel to it. Even though it feels a little harsh right now, there's just something about it that just helps me set what the light is doing, and later on I can get the pastel paintings to really glow.
All right, so Christine, what I want you to do is just pause for a second. And we've had a double the audience come in since you started. So would you tell everybody what you started with, because you had this drawing done already. So just tell everybody about the paper and the pencils that you used initially, and then reiterate what you're doing now and why you're doing it.
Yeah, so I'm working on Sennelier Le Carte, which is a really nice, very softly gridded surface made specifically for pastel. And this particular color here that I'm working on is called Sienna Brown. And if you touch it, it almost feels like this suede. It's just this beautiful grit that they have on their surface. And the beauty of that surface is that it lets you layer and layer and layer, especially when you're working with something simple like these pencils. And so I started with a pretty sophisticated drawing, a pretty completed drawing, where you could really see her likeness, really see everything that's happening across the whole entire drawing. And then we moved into layer number 2, which is what I've been working on here, which is the Find the Light stage. And it's just a way to go through and ask myself, what is the light doing across her entire face? How bright is it from one area to another area? Like right here on the brow bone, you can see it gets, that brow bone catches the light a little more, it gets a little stronger. So I want the yellow to represent that. And really, I'm pushing a little harder and getting that sense of light right there on the forehead so I can understand.
Okay, we're going to show the reference photo one more time.
Yeah.
I wish we had a little way we could put it in the window, but we don't. All right, good. Now, there was a question in the chat about how room light affects what you would do. Let's see if I can find the question. Can't find it. Oh, how does the lighting in the room affect the colors that you use?
Yeah, obviously that's something that I think all artists really do struggle with. I have a bunch of different lighting situations going on here. I have a big window behind me that's natural lighting, and then I have an indoor flood over beside me, and I have a little warm light that's right above me here. You can see the shadow kind of being cast on it right now. Obviously that's going to change if I took this drawing and moved it around in different light sources. It's going to appear more yellow or less yellow. The beauty of the acidic yellow like this is it's so strong that I'm not looking for subtleties. I'm just looking for how lit is an area versus how softly lit, maybe down the side here of the nose, is it lit? So I'm not really worried about the color too much per se right now. I'm only just worried about, is it telling me what the light is doing accurately across the face?
The pencils she's using are pastel pencils. She's got multiple different brands, not any one particular one that's a favorite.
Yeah, no, I can show
Or
you.
it's Sennelier.
All pencils are my friends. I love all the pencils. And earlier I had shown too, where when I was working on my initial drawing, pencils are so forgiving on this surface. This is a pencil that's very close to the background color, and I can go in and correct. So say, for example, I took the yellow stage too far over across her forehead. All of a sudden, right away, you can tell this looks a little weird, right? Something a little weird's going on there. So if I've made a mistake and I've taken it over too far, I can just take the paper color and take it right back up. And so it's just a very wonderful way to correct things. And it's just very freeing to know that there's no right or wrong here, that I can just keep playing and searching for the light and go back and forth with it. And I always have a way to quickly correct things. Find this edge of the forehead here.
And she's using Sennelier La Carte. We'll try to put a link in for it.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, wonderful surface. If people haven't had a chance to really use their surface, I highly recommend it. It's just really, really a very soft and pretty way to work, especially with something like portraiture.
They are a sponsor of Pastel Live.
Nice. I love their pastels too. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. So down here in the neck, you can see that this area is lit, but it's not as lit as the cheeks, say per se, or as lit as the forehead. So I want my yellow stage to represent that. I want this to be lit, but very gently put in, so I can feel where the light is and how it's hitting the form and the column of the neck. But over here, it's much stronger. So I'm going to go back through and add more yellow in through here.
All right. So I want to just stop for a second, take a quick break, but I want to ask you, what will be the next things you're going to be doing?
Over top of this?
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do for the next few minutes in terms of finishing up for today?
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to take a stick of yellow and really push the highlights and get it really bright.
Oh, good. I'm anxious to see that.
Yeah.
All right. And then maybe if we have time, we could just take one tiny little section and throw a little, a tiny bit of the next stage over it, if you're willing.
Got it. Sure. Absolutely.
All right. Okay. So we'll be right back with Christine Swann, who is doing a demo in how to find the light. And I think it's been very valuable today. I'm Eric Rhodes, and we are on every day at 12 noon. We have a big event coming up, and we're pretty excited about it. It turns out it's going to be the biggest pastel event in the world because we have a worldwide audience. We have a huge audience of people tuning in from multiple countries and to learn all about pastel painting and different methods. You know, this is a method today that I actually have not seen done before. We have a lot of different methods, a lot of different artists coming up on Pastel Live in August of the 17th through the 19th. Usually this is after the kids are in school and so, you know, an opportunity. If you can't make the dates, there are replays available, but we have some of the top artists in the world who are going to be teaching over the course of the 17th through the 19th, including the Essentials Day, which is pretty cool. So let's just look at this quickly. Well, we're pretty excited about it. You can register and you need to do that pretty quickly because the price is going to be increasing. That's pastellive.com. Real easy to remember, pastellive.com. And that's from Streamline. We do magazines, we do all kinds of things. Hey, speaking of all kinds of things, I'll get a couple other things I want to tell you about. First off, let's see, what do I want to tell you about? We're doing a painter's trip to Japan in March to paint the blossoms and to paint and tour Japan. We're even going to take a tour of a paint company there. We're going to be having really great times. We're going to be hiring a geisha to model for us. There's a lot of fun things that we're going to do. I think we're working on trying to go to a movie set where we can paint some of the old Japan scenes. Anyway, it's going to be spectacular. And we sold out, but we're trying really hard to open up a couple more seats because more people want to go. So if you want to go, if you think you might want to go to Paint Japan, look at the details. If you think you want to go, then go in and join the wait list, and then we'll contact you if anything else pops up. We had one pop up last week, and we were able to get somebody else in that was on the wait list, and if you're interested in that. Secondly, we have our fine art trip. This is really for artists and collectors, but it's not a paint trip. Fine art trip is coming up, and we're going to 2 incredible cities. And when we go to a city, we own that town, baby. What I mean by that is we're going behind the scenes, oftentimes at the museums. Sometimes we're meeting with curators. Sometimes we're going to artist studios. We have all kinds of unique experiences that you just won't find on your own. And we decided to do 2 cities this time. Instead of traveling to like multiple cities, we're going to go in depth into Stockholm, visiting some artists, some famous artists there. We're going to see. There's also the same thing going on in Madrid. Of course, Sorolla, Zorn, Velasquez, all the greats. So this is going to be a great trip, and it's limited in size. I think we had 11 yesterday. We only have 10 more seats now. And so it's spectacular. If you want to live high on the hog, this is the way to do it. It's pretty incredible. As a matter of fact, we had this guy who came, and he was a very wealthy man. He was somewhat famous. And he said, I have access to everything. I'm a big art collector, and I've never been able to get an experience like this in my life. And so he was very complimentary. So anyway, that's finearttrip.com. And last but not least, Fall Color Week is coming up, and I don't know how many seats are left for that. I didn't look today, but there weren't very many. This always sells out pretty early, and it's our annual fall retreat. This is the last time we're going to do fall in the Adirondacks. We've done it only one other time, and it's spectacular. We will go to other places in the future, but anyway, it's going to be really nice. And we're staying at this classic old, I say old, it was built in the 1902 great camp, which has been converted to a retreat center. And it's spectacular. It's on a lake. It's going to be great painting right there. But we go all around the Adirondacks and paint. There's incredible mountains, waterfalls, but the color is vibrating. And we always pick the week of fall color. And so if you have fall color in your area, but you don't get out and get to paint it, if you don't have fall color, this is good for you. Or if you want a little change of scenery. Anyway, we have a lot of fun. We sit up at night, paint portraits, sing songs. It's like going to camp. And so and we limit it to about 100 people. So come and join us at Fall Color Week. All right, now we're going to get back to Christine Swann, who is teaching us about adding light. And let's show that reference photo in there one more time. Christine, take it away.
All right, I'm back. I've been
All right.
yellow here, obviously, as you've been talking about those amazing trips. And I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to feel pretty good about the forms of how I'm understanding how lit this cheek is versus this cheek. And what starts happening is once you get so much pastel pencil down, you might want to start putting something down that's a little stronger, or has a little more strength to it. And so I just have a really old pastel stick here. Again, still very acidic yellow. And I'm just going back in now, and I'm finding those little really strong areas of light, like, for example, like right up and through here and right in through here. And again, I want that relationship between what is really lit and what is really, lit but much softer. And
You're
even though
giving new meaning to getting lit.
this is my favorite way to get lit here. This is and just by taking the pastel stick up against the lip and the strong little highlight on the nose, again, it's
Do you
pulled in.
sharpen that stick? It looks like you turned it over and got more point.
Yeah, it was kind of like, like a triangle shape on this side. So I just kind of move it around. I'm notorious for breaking sticks and finding edges of things, and yeah. So, but look how fun just to put a couple little stronger yellow highlights here in the hair up against the forehead here, and it really starts pulling this all out.
So for the people who tuned in late, she did this as a drawing in pastel pencil. And then she wanted to show us how to add light. So she started adding light with yellow pencil. And this is stage 2 in her 5-stage process, which you're going to demonstrate on Pastel Live coming up in 2 or 3 weeks.
Absolutely. And you had mentioned about giving you a little teaser on what's coming up in layer number 3. And so I just pulled out some, layer number 3 is actually what I call my crazy color stage. So once the yellow feels pretty good to me and I'm feeling pretty good about the forms of everything, I actually will go through and find just fuchsias, greens, reds, all colors are on the table. And I will start putting them in on the break. So like this is a crazy kind of a fuchsia color. You can see it's actually kind of dark. And again, just kind of finding areas where I can almost intuitively feel where some of these colors could be. Again, I'm thinking about the upper layers later on. So I'm going to throw in some mint green.
Oh, how fun.
I know, isn't this fun? So this really emphasizes that there is no right or wrong. It's just kind of.
You're sure you're not doing like some wacky tobacco or something?
I'm getting lit over here, Eric. And so, yeah, mint green, fuchsias. Here's a nice orangey red kind of color. I always like freaking my students out when I start putting in colors like this across the face, and they're like, "Oh, I can't do that." And I'm like, "Yes, you can. It's so much fun."
You're putting that over some of that light, and yet that light is still showing through.
It's still showing through. That's the transparency part that I was talking about earlier, that you get that glow, that sense of that yellow underneath. The key is just to kind of put it in areas. Obviously, if I put this orange here, see how it'd be too dark? Over here, it'd be too light. And it's kind of funny that that's the same stick, but it appears to be two completely different colors. And again, the beauty of the pastel pencil is you can kind of, correct it. You can take it right out and make it go away. There you go. And I just take this orange and play around. And people are typically surprised that they see how many layers and how much color really in my portraits, because they seem pretty quote unquote realistic. But when you really slow down and really look at them, there's a lot of color really.
I'm going to, just so people can get a sense of that, I'm going to show a couple of things that you've done, just so that they can see this. Let me see. I'll pick this one. Now you can, as you see that, you can start seeing how that color in there works.
Yeah.
Here's another. But you can also see there's a whole lot more to it, which you're going to explain, which will be really terrific. So looking forward to Pastel Live.
Yeah, so am I. I'm really, really looking forward to that. It's so much fun to share and see the look on people's faces when they're new to pastel, and then, or even if they've been working with it for a long time, and you introduce something new to them and they're like, "Oh, I didn't think of it that way,"
Now we're just putting a link to the paper. It's not sanded paper. It's Sennelier Lacarte paper. Also, this is funny. Eddie Duke says, "I'm headed to the art supply store after this demo. I usually paint with acrylics. My wife is going to kill me." So I think you converted somebody, Christine.
Welcome to the new addiction. Yay.
Yay. Your wife won't kill you because she knows that you are passionate and that this is good for your soul.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, she might kill you for other reasons, but not that.
And so you can see that even though I had 3 colors here that I've added over top of the yellow stage, she starts feeling colorful and realistic and a little more alive, even though I'm picking, just randomly these kind of 3 crazy colors to put over top of that yellow stage. And the more that I go along in the upper layers, the more layers are added over top, and then the more realistic things appear, especially in the skin tones.
Dennis Marshall asked a question totally unrelated to this. He says, I'm concerned about fall foliage for 23. How will the weather affect the brilliant colors? We actually had a lot of rain up here last year and the colors were spectacular. I don't think it's going to affect them at all. And by the way, if it does, who cares? We'll paint browner leaves or we'll paint green leaves. We're going to have fun no matter what.
Hey, you'll be painting, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, well, these retreats are so much fun. I mean, I have friends I've made that are lifelong friends. I've discovered artists at these things. Charlie Hunter was discovered at our event. I liked his work so much. I did a story, and then he started getting invited to places, and we all put our work out. We just have a great time. Everybody's equal, nobody's better than anybody else. You'll have famous people painting next to non-famous people. It's pretty cool.
That's really cool. I've got to do one of those.
Yeah, you need to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's not far drive from South Carolina.
I'll go. I'm there. Sounds
There's
good.
people coming up from South Carolina. You can just drive with them.
That sounds great. I'm in.
Got a lot of people watching today from Italy. Tell us where you're watching from, folks.
You can see I grabbed this kind of dark bluish Wedgwood kind of color, and that's been kind of fun to pop in here a little bit. I'm feeling a little
Okay,
bit
here's a question for you. Julie Rainey asks, how can you fix Lacarte paper if you accidentally put a damp finger on it and it melts down?
Oh, I've learned how to do that. You can absolutely do that. So if you're not familiar with this surface, it's one of the surfaces that you cannot get wet. We say it's a little fragile. So if you sneeze on it or spill some water on it, you're going to have some trouble. And so what she's asking is how to fix that area, because the grit will actually come off and then you won't be able to put pastel in that area. And so the best way to do that, I have found, is to just kind of, like, if let's say I have a little damaged area, let's say here on the forehead, and it'll get down to where the grit is off of it and it's down to this white like poster board that's underneath of it. And so what I'll do is I'll actually spray my finger, like have almost like the glue on my finger, and then hit it on top of that, let it almost dry just a little bit, and then sprinkle some raw grit or pumice into it. Let it dry, dust it off a little bit, and you're good to go. It's like you just add the grit back in and you can keep on painting. So I've had to do that over the years.
Awesome. Well, we figure these things out.
Yeah. So don't panic. There's typically always a way to fix it.
You got to make a lot of mistakes. That's just part of the plan.
Absolutely.
Wow.
One of the best things about this yellow stage too is that, you can find the edges of things. Like I'm going in and now I'm looking at that yellow stage again and I'm saying, well, how soft is that turn up into the bridge of the nose? How strong is it right here on the cheek? And so rather than later on in the painting when, we're always talking about edges and how important it is to look at edges, I'm thinking about all that now. I'm looking at, and it corrects my drawing. It'll help me, because I realized my forehead was a little short here. So I've added on a little space and brought it out a little bit. And I've done it in the yellow again. And just keep on going with it yellow.
Christine, you are a very good teacher and you're a brilliant artist. Really good.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. I am obsessed with pastels, obsessed with them. Have been for a long time. Just love the medium. And just keep going over areas, bringing out the light more and more.
Did a webinar the other day. I don't know if you saw it, but I had 4 pretty prominent artists on. And we just had, we tried to answer a lot of questions about finding your voice and so on. But one of the things that we discovered in all of this is that all of them paint in multiple mediums. Some of them prefer one over the other, but they found that when they started learning pastel, they started realizing there are some other techniques that they had never thought about that they could apply to their oils or watercolors.
Right. Absolutely. I
And
found
it also kind of gets you reinvigorated if you're trying something new.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I started working in oils a couple of years ago, and it was interesting again to start working with a brush. But then when I went back to the pastels, my pastels changed again. It had more of this softer edge, brushy kind of, because all that knowledge kind of carried over. And the other way, when I'm working in oils, if I've been working in pastel for a while, right before picking up the oils again, I start thinking about the line work of thing, the edges of thing, just the beautiful drawing in the oils. And so they do, they translate to each other. And It's a good thing to work in multiple mediums, I think.
Yeah.
Bring up the light on this cheek just a little bit more. So the beauty about the way that I have structured with the 5 layers is that if you get into trouble at a certain layer, like say, like when I had the color pulling across the forehead incorrectly or whatever, if you get into trouble with a layer, just go back to the previous layer. Like if I'm starting to put in color and I'm starting to lose things, I'll just go back to the yellow stage and add more of the yellow and just keep correcting with the yellow. And then I'll go back up again to the color stage again. And eventually we'll get to more realistic colors and, more the final look to the piece. But
Awesome.
yeah, I just love breaking things down.
Teresa asked, is there a replay of the 4 artist presentation? Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm posting it on the Plein Air podcast this week. So just go to Plein Air podcast and follow that. And you'll be able to, you can watch it on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, this channel, Art School Live. It's posted there or will be posted there. If you subscribe, we post all kinds of stuff. You are really doing an awesome job. I am so impressed. And your daughter is going to love this. She's being seen by the world.
My kids are used to being tortured by me when I'm painting
This is going to boost her already successful fashion model career.
Absolutely. I trained my kids early to be my models, so I used to bribe them with candy and anything else I could get to have live models. So they're torturing them.
My kids won't sit for me. They never would. I tried everything. Nothing worked. They were too smart. I'm not saying yours weren't. I'm just
saying. Right. I had to bribe mine. So, whatever works.
My wife won't do it either.
Aw.
So I do a lot of photo images with those guys, I'll sneak photos. Dad, don't do photos.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you're going to reveal what the 5 steps are once you get on to Pastel Live. You want to give any clues to what they are?
Sure. So after I have all these crazy colors in here of the 3rd layer, the next stage, the layer number 4 is what I call the realistic color stage. So that's when we're really starting to color match now. We're starting to see how realistic do we actually want the portrait to be, keeping in mind all these under layers, which will help with that realistic layer in the 4th stage. And then my 5th stage is what I call the beauty mark stage, which you would think I'm looking for details at that point at the end of the portrait, the beauty marks or the eyelashes, but the actual part of that is it's actually the opposite. I'm actually standing back from the painting and I'm looking for areas in the portrait to just add beautiful marks. And since pastel is such a drawing medium, it's just such a wonderful way to step back at the end of the portrait and in the beauty mark stage, just add beautiful marks across the painting and reaffirm that, yes, this is a painting. Yes, this is a pastel. And it's really fun to step back at the end of a portrait and really make just beautiful marks across the painting and make it your own. So I'm happy to share all that with everybody at Pastel Live.
Awesome. So if you want to learn more about Pastel Live, you know where to go, pastellive.com. Ta-da!
Yay. So excited.
A lot of new people I'm seeing on here today. So if you're new, we're here every day at 12 noon with different art lessons we have hundreds of people that come as guest artists to teach a little something. So come on here at 12 noon every weekday. And we have thousands, maybe not thousands, hundreds on YouTube on our channel at Art School Live. And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe because then we get another plaque. We got a plaque at 100,000. I don't know what we have to get get another plaque, but hey, can't hurt.
No, it's so valuable. Seeing how other people work, it really gets your brain going, thinking about, how can I do something a little differently?
We have, this show has literally reached millions of people. Some episodes have as many as 200,000 views. And people all over the world have told us that they've decided to start painting or drawing or creating something because of the inspiration they've received from the artists like you on the show. And a lot of people have told us that they also have taken up art after being away from it for their whole life. You get notifications on YouTube. If you hit the little bell, it'll give you notifications. Gabriel says they don't do it on Facebook anymore. I don't know why. It's probably something in your settings, but you may have to fool with that. We'll look into it. All right, we're going to give you about 4 more minutes, and then we're gonna say sayonara.
Awesome. And you know me, I could be doing this all day and
I don't
probably.
know you, but I assumed you probably could.
Yeah, I could definitely do this all day. It's a lot of fun.
It's really amazing to me how to see this form come alive, so much more than even the original drawing.
Right? Because I'm really pulling. That light will tell you what to do. It will tell you, you know, how the nose is coming forward off the face. It will tell you what's happening with the hair and how it's curving if you just slow down and really observe it. And the yellow is just, it's just been such a wonderful way to represent that. And I'm just kind of bebopping around here a little bit now.
You really do a lot of really beautiful blending with these.
Thanks. And it's funny because I don't typically put my fingers in it. I tell people not to give their painting the finger, and to be very careful about blending so much with the finger. But just little tiny circles like this with the pencils, you could get this soft, beautiful nuancey kind of just clean, clear color happening with a pencil like this versus blending anything. So I don't really use stumps or anything like that. I would rather just sit here and layer and layer and layer with the pencils. I feel like it's just a prettier finish.
Well, why don't you turn your camera around so we can see you? Everybody get a chance to meet you if they didn't see you in the beginning. And wow,
Here I am.
yeah, there you are. All right. Well, we have loved having you on today, Christine. This has been a valuable lesson about learning about light and also the fun colors that you're adding. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Pastel Live in August. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And any final words of wisdom?
Yeah, light. Go and find it. It's there. It will tell you what's going on no matter what you're painting, whether it's a portrait or a pine cone. Just slow down and study the light, and you can paint anything, really.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. Okay. Now I want to just ask Amandine to come on real quickly. She's not expecting this, so she may not even be hearing this. Amandine, my producer. There's Amandine. Amandine is, I don't know if you've noticed, but you could probably barely notice, but she's going to pop her first child. Could be any day now, right?
Yes, it could be.
So Amandine has hired her replacement. She's training her replacement. And we don't know when this is going to happen. She's going to be with us until it happens or until she can't do it anymore. But please, everybody, give a round of applause for Amandine, just in case we don't get to say proper goodbye to her. But we will. We'll try to find some time to do that. But thank you, Amandine. You have been so terrific. We hate to lose you. We hope you'll come back. We're looking forward to having a new streamlined baby in the family. And we're looking forward to you coming over, or we're coming over to you and seeing this child and throwing lots of gifts. Is it a boy or a girl? Do we know?
It is a boy.
Oh.
And I received a lot of gifts from you guys already. I don't have room anymore.
Well, we'll have to build you a new house or something.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Amandine, and thank you everyone for being here today. We're a family at Streamline. We just like to have fun. We like to help people. We love to see people come alive when they discover art. I had a woman here last night or 2 nights ago over for dinner. She was a guest of some of our guests, and we were talking, and she found out what I do for a living. She said, "Oh, I could never do that. I don't have any talent." How many hundreds of times have we heard that from people? And I said, "You don't need talent." I said, Can you cook?" She said, "Yeah, I can cook." I said, "Can you follow a simple recipe?" "Yeah, I can do that." I said, "If you can do that, you can learn to paint." "Oh, no, I can never learn to paint. I don't have the talent." I said, "Look, your doctor, your surgeon, your dentist, they don't have natural talent. Maybe they get natural talent after they get a lot of experience and they get really good at it. This is something we accept the fact that they have to go to school and learn, but for some reason we have this mistaken belief that because we're artists that it just comes naturally. But every artist I know had to learn how to do it. They had to struggle. They had to go through the process, learning to draw, learning to paint. You know, it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. And the process is simple. And our whole goal is to teach you to paint. We have over 600 professionally produced in the soundstage, high quality art instruction courses from the world's leading artists at painttube.tv. And we would invite you to go there and check it out, because that's what we do every day. And we love helping you guys out. And there's just nothing better than hearing from somebody who said, I didn't think I could do it, and here I am, look at what I'm doing. This is so exciting. So thank you for that. And thank you all for being here every day at 12 noon Eastern time. And especially thank you to Christine Swann. You have given me new things that I didn't know existed, and you have inspired us. We're going to see her on Pastel Live. We will see you on Pastel Live, and we'll see you here tomorrow, 12 noon. I'm Eric Rhodes, Fine Art Connoisseur, Plein Air Magazine, and a whole bunch of other stuff. We'll see you.